Hi, Colleen. Okay, a couple of things. This resolution still isn't wonderful. It would be great if you had another image of this, if it were possible. Um, Although this looks like you may have put it on top of an image, so maybe you just don't have the resolution. So just see if you possibly can get it a little better. I keep being bothered by this on top of this, and I just wondered if maybe there's room to move her over a little and really show this and maybe put the Marzetti over here. Then you could swap these two and then have, creamy low fat sweetness, low fat sweetness. Now, is that, I think there's some problems with leading, and I think you should look at that all, everywhere. The distance between here and here looks less than the distance between here and here. Maybe if you add a paragraph return and make sure that you've highlighted them and they all have the same leading, then you will get the same spacing. But if anything, you'd need almost a little more space here if you were going to vary them, because this is uppercase. Do you see what I mean? Do you see how I have much more volume here than here? So that's what you kind of thing you need to look at. And then I just kind of think having it right over, the caramel is a little, it's almost like, see, it's making like a line to her mouth a little bit. I almost would wonder if you could move the Marzetti over here, if that would work, and move her over to the left a tad. That might be something you could do. And then, is it low fat sweetness? Because it's reading like creamy, low fat, sweetness, gluten free. You see what I mean? Because these two are grouped. So maybe you want to adjust the spacing there. Um, I'm not sure how you want to do it, but I think really think about what it is you're saying. It's almost like poetry when we do, but you have to move the words around a bit. Now, here I find this type underwhelming, frankly, because a couple of things you could do. You could actually make this overlap this line a little bit, because this is now dividing it. This is neat, and it makes me kind of want to eat it and all that stuff, but I would pull this up here a little bit. Maybe tuck this can go here, but maybe you'll have more air around this if you group it a bit with the red. But I just find this type, it's, first of all, I think you need a space there. It almost looks like something very normal, like I don't think it's Times Roman, but it has that look of not that interesting somehow. And also, so you're quoting a kid. Okay, I get the quotes. But I just don't feel like this is a really compelling typeface, in terms of the design. So just maybe I would think about maybe replacing that type. I'm not sure with what. Maybe it could even be a sans serif italic if you want. Something maybe cleaner and less, because these are old style typefaces, the thicks, the thins, these kinds of, they're based, as if it's not old style, it's based on something older. And I don't know that it looks like a display font, so that might be something you want to look at. Now, you talked about possibly, I can't fit this in here, changing the typeface. Oh, the new improved logo. Okay, I see. I kind of like these, but I like this too. I think that is an improvement. I think you need, though, to kern. You kern this in apostrophe in a little bit and kern in the S, because you have a raging gap here. You don't need a raging gap. You could use this as an alternate sometime, really, as long as you keep it somewhat consistent in look, but, or you could, I don't know, maybe you don't want to, but I kind of like this. And then where else are we using it? I think if you're going to use it, let's see, happily serving families for another 120 years, we're pointing down to this. It seems to me what you need here is maybe some kind of a jar. I think we need to make a real connection in how these grapes turn into something else. So maybe I would maybe put a couple of jars, even though it's a brochure. And then Smuckers, maybe a little bit big there. I'd make it sort of claim the space a little bit more, or have it down here. It might look good on the purple, but I think you need to really bring your eye down a little bit, either by having a overlapping jars or something. And then, so it could be up here, it could be down there. But I think that will help, and make sure these are, what you're doing up here align to down there. Think about your grid. Same thing here. You have, okay, so this is working somewhat. But again, this typeface looks a bit old-fashioned. Now, I don't think, just because you've used this in the logo, I don't think you have to use it. I think, you see how it kind of falls apart here? Find another typeface that is complementary. It could even be like a slab serif, like Rockwell, that's not too dark. But I think this is a real kind of, what do they call it? Not display type, but one of those playful, unique types that only works in some, and again, kern, get that closer together. But I think you want to have a more sober, making history, don't panic, it's all organic. I think you need a different typeface for that. Maybe not quite so bold, but something that, where the characters fit together better. And, you need to leave much more space. You need to leave more space at any rate before this making history is grouping with the image. You don't really want it to group with the image. It's really a part of this copy. Don't panic. Maybe it's all organic on one line, but you need more space. You have to always leave some space for things to have air. So these could have a little come down, maybe as wide as the yellow line. And these should probably bleed off the page. No reason not to if these bleed already. Okay? Again, I would use a different typeface. This looks a little too, wacky, too, novelty font is the word I'm trying to, but this is a real message. So I think it's, okay, here you're not using the Smucker's logo at all. Put your new logo on that, Smucker's, Snack Pack, use it here. This has no connect between, your other very colorful things. Find a way to, I guess this is over here, but we're really not seeing it except in this staid way on the other side. I think you need this side to be a bit more colorful. I think you should make a more readable, but also display type here. Not quite as novelty as this one. Keep that one for your logo. That should be separate. Okay, here it looks pretty good, I think. Again, the kerning. Always think about your letter spacing. I'm not sure who you're quoting here, so I don't know that you need quotes. This is a statement. It is striving to keep families healthy. You're not quoting the President of the United States or something. Okay, so I'm sorry this is so big, but let's see. Again, these don't really work as, type that you're going to read. So this looks kind of wacky. Eat the best, leave the rest. Also, if this is a website, I would say that these images need to be a little bigger. And look how long these are, leaving almost like widows at the very end here. Better still, make 2 columns and make this a 3rd column, like equal sizes or something. These are awfully small. But you don't want to have like long sentences and then little ones at the end. Okay? So I would clean that up also. Choose a web-friendly font, even if it's Arial. There's already that kind of feel around here. Don't use more than 3 fonts maximum. But I think that should be some kind of clean, it probably is a pretty clean font down there. But also, when you have a headline, leave less space between the headline and the copy than up here. Right now, this is grouping to the stuff above it, whereas in fact, it should be describing the stuff that's in the content below. Okay? So I would shorten these. Maybe you might make them bigger. You could also start it not quite so far out and make these also large, the photos large, but not, the type doesn't have to go from one end to the other. So I think that would help. It would be even better if it worked, but of course that wasn't part of that assignment. I know that. Okay, good.